Some of the simplest things in life are just simply happy flights, wins on getaway day, and even better yet, when their series wins. Brewers take a huge one against the Padres. We're going to talk about the implications, what we learned, some big plays you might have forgotten about, and get you ready for the Cardinals this week on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good morning, happy Thursday, and it is certainly a very happy Thursday after a series victory over the Padres. This is Locked On Brewers. I'm Dominic Catronio. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. Amazing selection and reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. You visit rockauto.com right now and tell them that Locked On sent you. I'm Dominic Catronio, statistician of Bally Sports, Wisconsin, bringing you all the news and nuggets and stats that you want to know about the Brew Crew all season long with your only daily podcast dedicated to the crew. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You hear me say it every time. Drop a rating if you're so inclined. Drop a review if you're on Apple Podcast. Leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube as well. Let's have some fun with this one. So, Brewers get the win 2-1. Another fun game. I mean, it felt like the playoffs. It really did. These games, so much was riding on it for both teams. It was a great litmus test for both of these teams. Neither one of them had faced really a legitimate over 500 team yet in this point in the season. And yes, the Padres play in the West. They will be playing more coming up. But aside from one series with the Dodgers, two series with the Giants, one of those on opening week, and one series with the Diamondbacks, they haven't faced a lot of stiff competition, a la the Brewers. So for both of these teams, it was very important to see where they stand, what kind of weaknesses they may have, and what they need to do moving forward. And the Brewers end up coming out on top. We're going to dive deeper into it as far as 5 plays that you may have forgotten about. Well, I got 3 plays here, actually, that you may have forgotten about from this game that are huge, that helped the Brewers get the 2-1 win. Also, look overall at larger storylines following the team right now, and some brief medical updates as well as we get you ready for the Cardinals this weekend, a 4-game set with those dreaded Redbirds down in St. Louis. That series starts tonight at 6:45. There is some weather in St. Louis, so remains to be seen if we'll be able to start that game on time today. But 6:45 first pitch, Eric Lauer going against Adam Wainwright later on tonight, which should be a great pitching matchup. Wainwright and Lauer, two very different style pitchers so far this season. Waino, a 5-3 record, a 2.87 ERA. As for Lauer, 4-1, a 2.16 ERA this season. Let's talk about San Diego. Let's talk about this series. First and foremost, looking back and looking at the larger scope of this series, it was not the end of the world if the Brewers lost this series, in my opinion. Here is why. They are dealing with injuries right now. You do not have your shortstop. You do not have your starting right fielder, at least for one game you had him, or at least the first 4 innings you had him. You did not have your closer, and although Freddie Peralta was not scheduled to start in this series, you did not have Freddie Peralta. That is 4 massive impact guys. I'm not just saying it's like some guy off the bench who maybe bats 8th. No, these are 4 impact players that the Brewers did not have available to them here in May. And I don't worry about injuries as much as other people may because of the fact that it all depends on the calendar. It's all relative based on the month that you're in. Look, you're the last week of May. If you're going to have some major chunk injuries and miss some time for a couple of weeks here and there, you'd rather it happen now. You'd rather it happen here, rather it happen in June, as opposed to late July, early August, when then you start worrying about building up for the playoffs. It appears as so, and we're still very early in the timetable of return for Freddie Peralta, it appears as though he will be able to return this season, not only just throwing, but actually be able to be a starter. Granted, we're just a couple of days into this long-term injury stint for him, but that prognosis is certainly encouraging to remember with Freddie Peralta currently on the shelf. On the other side of things, Hunter Renfroe on the bat. He's probably going to be out for about 2 weeks or so, it sounds like. They got to take it day by day. And look, the Brewers were bit by the hamstring bug last season as well, in making sure guys were healthy. You want to be conservative with soft tissue issues. And again, it's May. It's about to be June. You've got time to figure this stuff out, especially for him, an outfielder that's going to need his legs at some point in some games when he does return. And Willy Adames seems will be close to returning. They don't expect him to be ready for the St. Louis series. He continues to do ankle mobility workouts on the field, but he may or may not appear in the St. Louis series. It looks like they're targeting the Chicago series coming up on Monday. And then finally, of course, with Josh Hader and his family situation, remains to be seen if he will be available for St. Louis. We wish him and Maria all the best, again, as I've said a couple of times, as they're having issues with pregnancy in their first child for the Hader family. So that's a whole other thing. It's a whole other unknown right now. So that's why I say, even if you did lose this series, for one, you proved you were competitive with a team that expects to be in the playoffs. Number two, you were doing so without your best players. And I can already hear Padres fans or baseball fans saying, wait a minute, Dom. They didn't have Fernando Tatis Jr. You're absolutely right. They did not have Fernando Tatis Jr. But you faced Blake Snell. You faced Yu Darvish. Nick Martinez pitched very well. Their bullpen was relatively healthy. Granted, they don't have Drew Pomeranz still right now, so I'll give them credit on that. But this is kind of the team that the Padres are at the moment. Jake Cronenworth hasn't delivered a lot for them. Ha-Sung Kim has not delivered a lot for them this season, as opposed he did in Fernando Tatis' absence last year. Hosmer Machado, great stories, but they need some help. Nothing is happening around them aside from a great pitching staff for what the Padres got going on right now. So this was a very important series to win for the Brewers to take it. Some overall numbers from this series that really jumped out at me. First and foremost, the Brewers held the Padres to just 3 for 24 with runners in scoring position. And all 3 hits came in Monday's opener. So one of the hits coming in extra innings, the winner by Ozokar on Monday. And then for the rest of the series, the Brewers held them to 0 for 11 on both Tuesday and Wednesday. Dang, that is doing your job right there. And if you're wondering, Milwaukee went 4 for 18 with runners in scoring position. Not great, a little over 200, but still better than what the Padres did, and far fewer opportunities as well. That's another story for another time and another critique for another time. Another number that jumped out at me, you only held the Padres to 2 extra base hits all week. 2 extra base hits, and even one of them was kind of marginal. I thought it was on the throw for Trent Grisham's double on Monday night, that he advanced on the throw going into third base. Nonetheless, only 2 extra base hits in a span of 3 games, just 2 doubles. You're not going to lose many games not allowing extra base hits. Burns only allowed singles on Tuesday. Ashby only allowed singles yesterday in Wednesday's win. That was something that jumped out to me. And finally, Manny Machado. All the talk of the town was the fact that he's the hottest hitter on the planet. He's going to win the NL MVP at this rate. The Brewers held him to 2 for 11. 2 for 11. That is identifying a problem and identifying somebody that, all right, we are not letting Manny Machado beat us. Hosmer had a good series. He hit 400 for the series. But they identified Machado and said, we're not going to let this guy beat him. Not going to let this guy beat us. Everyone else can beat us, but not Manny Machado. They executed that game plan very, very well against an all-star caliber hitter. And it also is a little bit of icing on the cake, given it is Manny Machado after, everything in 2018. Other stuff I want to get to, Rowdy Tellez is heating up over his last 6 games. He's hitting .333, a double yesterday. He's got a .412 on base. Andrew McCutchen, since he returned, by the way, guys, he's hitting .304 with a .385 on base since he returned from the COVID IL on Friday against the Nationals. That's an encouraging sign for Kutch. And, of course, it's the week of Tyrone Taylor. He goes 6 for 17 in the last 5 games for him, including a double, 3 homers, and 10 runs batted in. 6 for 17, by the way, is .353 for his batting average. And get this number. 10 RBIs, right? Including the big go-ahead RBI in yesterday's game. 10 RBIs out of 22 total for the team over the last 6 games. That includes the National Series and this Padres series. He's got nearly half of the runs batted in for the Brewers over the last 5 games that he's played in. He's everyday Tyrone now. He's doing something to impact the game every single day. And he has earned his playing time on top of the fact that he is needed right now with Hunter Renfroe going on the injured list. That's some overarching stuff. Let's go deeper into this game with 3 plays I think you might have forgotten about of how important this game was, with the recap as well. Before we do that, I want to remind you about our presenting sponsor. With Rock Auto, you can find all the parts your car could ever need. Look, there's so many makes, there's so many models these days. It's pretty much impossible for a local chain auto parts store to stock everything that your car could need. And on top of that, the guy or gal behind the counter is going to be questioning you, kind of interrogating you of like, well, is it this model? Is it this color? Does that look like it's right? No, just go to rockauto.com, see everything you could ever need, and it's all the right prices as well. You can save time and money. You can use an auto chain store if you want, and you're going to spend 30%, 50%, 100% markup on the same parts that you're going to get at rockauto.com. You can get a fuel pump for $353 from a chain, or you can get it for $216 at Rock Auto. It's that simple. Why wouldn't you be using the Rock Auto site? It's easy to use. They've been serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. You can use their website to find the solution that you need for anything your car or truck may have going on. So go to their site right now. Again, rockauto.com. And when you see their "How did you hear about us" box, make sure you put Locked On in there. Let them know that we sent you here on the Locked On Network to Rock Auto to see all the parts available for your car. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need at rockauto.com. Let's go through a quick recap. I mean, there are only 3 runs scored in this game, so it's not going to be a very long recap, to be honest. But the Brewers win this game by a final of 2-1 yesterday. They only needed 4 hits to do it. They held the Padres to just 5 hits. Aaron Ashby got the start, and this is his first start officially in the rotation, right? Freddie Peralta is out. He's going to be out for months. This is Ashby's job. He doesn't need to look over his shoulder, doesn't need to worry about, oh, am I going to go back to the bullpen for this next one? And he delivered, and it got shaky a few times. He allowed 3 walks in this game. He did have 5 strikeouts, just 4 paper cuts, only singles allowed. He worked into the 6th inning, 5 2/3, 1 unearned run against him on an odd error by Jace Peterson on a ball that I think he got ahead of himself a little bit. More on that a little bit. They were going up against Yu Darvish, and I mean, what does Yu Darvish eat for breakfast against the Brewers? Because this dude has shoved against the Brewers, whether it's with the Cubs, for all those years, or he even shoved against the Brewers when he was briefly with the Dodgers too, mind you. It's his 2nd loss of the year. They might have held him in a little too long, pitching into the 7th inning. 7 strikeouts, 2 walks for Darvish. Heading into that fateful 7th inning for him, he'd only faced 1 over the minimum. He was rolling in this game. The Brewers made him pay in the 7th inning. So Ashby gets it done. He gets a no decision in this one, though. He threw a total of 91 pitches, and Craig Counsell said after the game yesterday that, they were looking at a pitch count, but now they've officially said, all right, his arm is ready for the starter. He was very fresh. He had only thrown, 1 inning aside from the Sunday finale last week in Miami. So he was very, very fresh and ready to go in this series. And he delivered, and he is certainly going to be built up as a starter moving forward. Working into the 6th inning with a thin bullpen was huge. Let's talk about that 7th inning here before we get into the 3 plays that I think you might have forgotten about. 7th inning, play-by-play here. It all starts off. Both run-scoring innings in this game for the Padres and for the Brewers started with leadoff walks. Just something about leadoff walks, man. They always work out. It was Luis Urias who drew the leadoff walk. Yelich just missed one to right center field as Okar makes the play on a fly out to right center. It was the first time this year we've really seen Yelich show some frustration and emotion. Yelled an expletive as he head back to the dugout. I kind of like to see that from Yelich. Good for him. He's in a little bit of a funk right now. We'll assess after this Cardinals series on how long this funk is sticking around. It seems like he's close. Then McCutchen gets a single. Urias goes first to third. More on that in a second. Then Rowdy Tellez, the clutch double the other way. It scores Weicho. Game's tied 1-1. Mound visit. There's activity in the bullpen. You're thinking, all right, Bob Melvin's coming out. That's it for Darvish. Bring on the bullpen. And nope, he decided to keep Darvish in to face the Brewers' hottest hitter in Tyrone Taylor. And he works at 6-pitch count, 2-2 count, and he almost hit another 3-run homer to left field. It's hard to hit it out at San Diego, we know this. But he hits it to the warning track, does his job with runners on 2nd and 3rd. That sacrifice fly was the difference of the game. The Brewers win 2-1. Later on in the game, the bullpen, we were kind of wondering on Twitter what's going to happen with the bullpen. Who do you go to knowing it's going to be a short bullpen with no Josh Hader? If you were going to go to Devin Williams, it was going to be his 3rd straight day, something he has never done in his career. Do you go to Brad Boxberger to close the game out, given you need a fresh arm? He didn't pitch in Tuesday's game. Well, all of that was answered when Luis Perdomo pitched a good 7th inning. More on that in a little bit. And then also, Brad Boxberger had the 8th inning, which I think surprised a lot of us in the studio. But what mostly surprised us is that he struck out the side. And he struck out the side against big league legitimate hitters. Eric Hosmer, Will Myers, Luke Voigt. See ya, see ya, see ya. Wow. First time that Brad Boxberger has struck out the side since 2018. 4 years. Incredible. Good for Boxberger to bounce back with that one in the 8th. And then Devin Williams, a 1-2-3 ninth inning. He needed to use a lot of pitches in this one. He threw 19 pitches, had back-to-back full counts against Kim and Cano. No strikeouts in this one, but gets the job done, gets the save. Back-to-back nights with the save for Williams, and he pitches in 3 consecutive days. 3 plays you may have forgotten about in this big win. Okay, 3 most important plays that I think you might have forgotten about. First one I want to talk about. Back in the 3rd inning, Aaron Ashby on the mound. Runners on first and second, and 2 outs, and Eric Hosmer up. If you haven't been paying attention, Eric Hosmer is in the top 5 in batting average in the National League. He's off to a great start. And Ashby falls behind 3-0 on him after already having 2 walks in this inning. So things are starting to unravel in front of Ashby's eyes in the 3rd inning. So it's a 3-0 count against Hosmer with 2 outs. He battles back and strikes out Hosmer on a curveball. That was huge, keeping a 0 on the board at the time. And that seemed like it locked Ashby back into place. He found his lane and got going after that. That's my first play. My second play of 3 plays you might have forgotten about. Bottom of the 7th inning. We know about Colton Wong's insane play. If you haven't seen it now, it's already on my Twitter page, @Dom_Catronio. Brewers have it. The insane diving stop, glove flip to Urias, robbing Machado of a hit, and probably would put runners in scoring position. Absolutely Gold Glove caliber play. But did you remember the play right before it? Rowdy Tellez charging on a short hopper right in front of first base, like charging forward about halfway between the mound and first, has to make a tough little scoop, and then because he's left-handed, throws off balance to second base to get the force out there. That was an amazing play. It just gets overshadowed by Wong making the epic diving stop on the very next pitch. That Rowdy Tellez play actually added more win probability in favor of the Brewers than Wong's diving stop did. Just not saying it's a better play, I'm just saying it added more win probability on, on those line charts that you see on ESPN or in Baseball Savant. So don't forget about that play. And finally, let's talk about Luis Urias going first to third. So Vinny and Craig Kashan can vouch for me on this. Sitting in the studio, watching that play unfold, base hit the right field by McCutchen, I'm just thinking to myself, don't go, don't go, don't go. It's Will Myers. He's got a great arm. Don't go, don't go, don't go. You're content. You got runners on first and second and only 1 out. Base hit's probably going to score Richo. That's my head. I never saw a clear angle if Jason Lane was sending Luis Urias, but Richo went. He challenged Will Myers. He gambled. He rolled the dice. Use any cliche you want. And he won, just barely, on a heck of a slide around Manny Machado's tag. Mind you, when you look at outfield assist numbers, it's kind of like, I tell people to look at outfield assist numbers like you look at interceptions for a cornerback, or like you look at passes defensed by a cornerback. Just because a guy has a lot of outfield assists doesn't necessarily mean he has a great arm. Don't get me wrong, Hunter Renfroe has a great arm. But there comes a point when teams stop testing that arm, right? Just like in football, teams stop testing a cornerback. Stop throwing it to that guy. Stop throwing it in that direction. Same thing that's kind of happened to Will Myers. That throw from Will Myers from right field to third base, and it was a seed from Myers, was 96 miles an hour, according to StatCast. From right field to third base on a dime, 96 miles an hour, and Richo gets in there by a half step. I mean, you could argue the throw might have beat him there, too. What a slide by Richo. That was a massive play to go first to third. It keeps Kutch at first base. So the double play was still in order, but now a wild pitch, a pass ball, you could have the double steal on. There's a lot more creativity or a lot more small ball ways to score that run. And because he's on third base with 1 out, all Rowdy's got to do is elevate the ball. All he's got to do is get it to the outfield. Sacrifice fly should score Richo. And that was really the first time we've seen Luis Urias turn on the jets since he returned from the IL. You'll notice sometimes when he's running up the first base line on a double play ball, he's not exactly giving it at all. Probably instructed to do that. Make sure that leg is ready. This was the first time we saw him say, forget it, I am going. And he got the job done and held everyone's breath in the studio for a second. But that was a heck of a gamble by the Brewers, and it turns into a 2-run inning in the 7th. And the difference for the Brewers win in this one. Let's talk about the Cardinals. Let's get ready for a massive 4-game series with the Redbirds for the Central. This is a very different team for the Brewers, that is, than the last time they faced the Cardinals back on home opening weekend a little over a month and a half ago. Before we do that, I want to tell you about our friends at LinkedIn. It's all about renewal and growth as we are here in spring, and you can do that personally and professionally with LinkedIn. As your small business grows, LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you actually want to talk to faster and for free. Look, everyone's got a LinkedIn, right? Everyone knows, hey, maybe I want to look at this job. Maybe I want to look at that place. With LinkedIn Jobs, it makes it easier for your small business to create an easy job post and that it can reach a network of over 810 million people that are job seekers around the world. It's the largest professional network of folks looking for employment. Then you can add your job with the purple #hiring frame, and LinkedIn profiles will spread the word that you are hiring so your network can help find the right people that you want to hire. There are simple tools, there's screening questions, they make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. LinkedIn Jobs wants to help you find the candidates you want to talk to and do it faster. Did you know that every single week, 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? So you can post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. Again, that's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. I know it's a little confusing. LinkedIn Locked On. LinkedIn.com/lockedonmlb. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. The dreaded Redbirds. So they were off in yesterday's game as the Cardinals are now coming in right behind the Brewers. They're currently 3.5 games back of the Brew Crew, getting ready of this 4-game set. Cardinals are 24-19. The Brewers are now 28-16. Looking at their schedule as of late, they had won 4 in a row before losing on Tuesday against the Blue Jays. They had a quick 2-gamer at home. They had a home off day. They won in extra innings. They had the walk-off grand slam by Paul Goldschmidt on Monday against the Blue Jays. They had just swept the Pirates in Pittsburgh, but they had their lunch handed to them in New York against the Mets. They had lost 3 out of 4 against the Mets in Queens. So they have been facing some better teams as of late. They did take 2 out of 3 from the Giants at home, despite losing 2 out of 3 at their place, splitting that series 2-2 in that series out in San Francisco. But the Brewers haven't seen the Cardinals, like we said, since opening weekend, home opening weekend, that is, April 14th through April 17th. They split that series with some very different games. Brewers won the home opener 5-1. Brandon Woodruff shoved. They beat Adam Wainwright. Then the Cardinals exploded for 10 runs off of Freddie Peralta in Game 2 of that series. Then they win a close one and a tough luck loss for Adrian Hauser 2-1. And this was kind of the real alarm bells of, oh my goodness, the Brewers do not have enough offense. What is going on? You still do not have Luis Arias at this time. Obviously, you had Adames still, and you had Renfroe. But aside from that, Keston Hiura actually batted cleanup in this game. Rowdy Tellez had the day off going up against the lefty Steven Matz, and Matz shoved, working into the 6th. No walks and 6 strikeouts. And then the Brewers salvaged the finale to split the series 6-5. It was an epic late win for the Brewers. They jumped out in front 3-0 early, but then the Cardinals responded with a 3 spot from Albert Pujols in the 3rd. Both teams traded some runs later in the game, but the Brewers ultimately ended up winning. Rowdy Tellez had a double, and Tyrone Taylor had a clutch bases loaded double in this game too, as the Brewers won 6-5. And at that time, that got the Brewers back to 500, and the Brewers have not been, below 500, I believe, since that game. Double checking the schedule here now, and they lost that's right. They had not been at 500 since that game. They've only been going on a roller coaster that goes upward, right? On a roller coaster that only goes up. They were 5-5 the last time they saw the Cardinals, and they are now 28-16. Things are working out really well. Let's talk about the projected pitchers in this series mentioned at the top of the show. Eric Lauer getting the start against Adam Wainwright tonight. 4-1 record for Lauer, 2.16 ERA. For Wainwright, it's a 5-3 record, a 2.87 ERA, a 6:45 scheduled first pitch tonight. Granted, there is rain in the forecast, so keep it locked on social media to see if there is going to be a game. Friday, tomorrow, it'll be Brandon Woodruff getting the start. 5-2 record, 4.76 ERA. He's been much better as of late. Going up against Dakota Hudson, 3-2, 3.60 ERA. He's been off to a good start this year. Tomorrow, a little later, at 7:10 for the first pitch. and then back-to-back day games. So, hey, if you're going to Eric Church on Saturday, going to church, Brothers Osborne and Parker McCollum on Saturday at American Family Field, don't got to worry. You don't got to miss the Brewer game. It's a day game, 1:15 for both Saturday and Sunday down in St. Louis. Adrian Hauser gets the ball on Saturday. TBA for the Brewers on Sunday, whereas the Cardinals will be going with their rookie Matthew Liberatore. He does not have a record of 7.71 ERA in 2 starts in the show. And then Miles Michaelis will get the start on Sunday against a TBA for the Brewers. Why might there be a TBA for the Brewers? Well, do they want to give Corbin Burnes an extra day of rest, given they had been prepared for a 6-man rotation, and this would be his first on the 5-man rotation if he appears on Sunday? Do you call somebody up for Sunday, or do you have Burnes go on the 5 days of rest? Do you make it a bullpen day? These are things that the team is trying to decide right now, because you got to remember, after Sunday is a Monday doubleheader, and you're allowed to bring up a 27th man in the doubleheader. Maybe they save it for that. Have Burnes start against the Cubs, and they're 9-inning doubleheaders this year, guys. Not that 7-inning, crummy, you-know-what. I like the 9-inning doubleheaders, personally. So these are the decisions why you see a TBA as of now on Sunday for the Brewers starter. Fun episode, fun game, fun week in San Diego. And let's keep the good vibes rolling in St. Louis. It's going to be a huge week. 4 straight games. Keep it locked on Locked On Brewers on social media or my Twitter at Dom_Catronio. It's all in the show notes. Hit subscribe. Tell your friends. We're just beginning. We're just heading into Memorial Day weekend. This is when the season starts to feel a little more real. All right? This is going to be a lot of fun for the Brewer Crew. See if they can try to eclipse 30 wins this weekend. Again, I'm Dom Catronio. Thanks for listening. We'll see you right back here, same time, same place tomorrow. Until then, keep on swinging.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.